Churches are a place of refuge for people looking for spiritual guidance and reverence to God. But there's a lot more going on in these religious institutions. Today, we turn the lens into churches to reveal the untold stories of religious leaders who are living extraordinary lives. My name is Pule Mulebati. You are indeed watching Stories Untold. Let's go straight into that story.
This is Pastor Noktula Dladla, a project officer at Cinerella, an interfaith organization for religious leaders living with HIV and AIDS.
We go into communities, we're creating safe spaces for women who are living with HIV. We have beneficiaries of young teenage, talk about issues of teenage pregnancy, but at the same time also survivors of violence themselves, creating the spaces, working with women pastors or women religious leaders into being champions of the project. So they open their churches because we thought mostly these things that are happening outside the church, but how can we work within the church space, within religious spaces, and create the spaces to be safe spaces, but at the same time also creating and opening a space for conversations about what is happening within religious spaces when it comes to issues of GBV. So this is the founder of the organization, Cinerella. So these are religious leaders from different, so this guy is from Muslim in Cape Town. So he does work for LGBTI people in the Muslim community. So I'm not sure of the two, but I know Bishop Tutu.
Yes, I wanted to ask about Babu Desmond.
Well, Babu Desmond Tutu has been supportive of the, especially the work that has to do with human rights and justice issues of HIV.
A woman of many hats, Pastor Dladla is an abuse survivor and openly lesbian.
When I got ordained in 1998, so I was ordained at the Metropolitan Community Church, so the first church here in South Africa, of LA, that we're opening for LGBTI people. So it was very difficult because I had to deal with so many lesbian people being rejected at homes, or issues around rape that is called corrective rape. So I had to deal with and in different people who were coming saying, I don't know what to do, I don't think God loved me because of my sexuality. So it was a whole process. So with a Global Interfaith Network, then it linked to the work I was doing already on the ground to say maybe hate messages that are coming from the church, we need to make sure that let's have a dialogue and start talking about and start doing contextual Bible studies or sacred texts that have been used to discriminate LGBTI people.
Gang raped at the age of 24, joining this organization had everything to do with her personal life experiences.
It links to my own journey as a person and my experience with violence, or at the same time as a religious leader myself, it's easy to have to relate to how issues of HIV have people still stigmatize people who are living with HIV. And at the same time, I look at myself as, as a pastor who is also a lesbian. I get to be, the stigma is the same, rejection, all those. So it links somehow. So that is the reason why I think for me, joining it is very important.
And the journey hasn't been smooth sailing.
I had to overcome issues of how patriarchy sometimes is being used against you as a woman. Most times it's issues of, where, even, women themselves, they will, have to, because we are socialized in a certain way. Sometimes it deals with you personally, where if I get to be rejected because I'm a woman, or when I find things are happening in the churches, and sometimes it's things that I have questions, I find ways to say, by the way, do you think this is okay? And that is a conversation. It doesn't become something that I am imposing myself to other people, but then allow us to have a conversation about things. That's how my life has been for years. So much for
Gathered in this room are female pastors. But this, however, is not a traditional church gathering. In this room are individuals living with HIV and AIDS, non-gender conforming, as well as gender-based violence survivors. This is a workshop, all made possible by Pastor Untold.
Time in my life where I just didn't know what to do. I work for an organization that is called South African Network of Religious Leaders who are living with or personally affected by HIV. So I'm a project officer. We have a project that is called UN Women Trust Project that deals with issues of gender-based violence. So we work to strengthen the capacity of religious leaders into making sure that the church and religious space is not silenced anymore.
Sitting in the audience is Pastor Pastandrovu. Also with her story to share, she attends these gatherings. Although there is still controversy around LGBTQI orientation in places of worship, Pastandrovu is living openly as a lesbian.
In the name of Jesus. Baba siyala ukuthi abantu bakho bafe belamaqhubu. Siyala ukuthi abantu bakho bafe bengabazenzi bengavumi lokho abayikho khona ngenxa yokubethelwa ngabantu.
Done with the workshop, we follow the group to what they term a healing garden, a place where they share their pain.
I've been in church for quite a long time, but it was back home. I come from Zimbabwe. And the environment actually does not accommodate, does not accept lesbian. But I've been like this since I grew up, to a point that I've been married for 12 years, but it was not a healthy marriage because I was pretending to be happy, you understand? So same applies even in church. I was not myself. I couldn't really break out and be open of who I am, how I feel. Until the time I came to South Africa in 2010, the environment welcomed me. Then I started to open up. That's when I realized that all these years I've been living a life to please other people. I couldn't be myself.
But what does the Bible say?
And pastor, I know that people bayasho ukuthi if you are gay or a lesbian, wenza into ephambene nezwi likaNkulunkulu. That's what people say. But to everyone who is listening, umuntu is not what you see. Umuntu uphakathi asifani. Even I know abantu abaningi, they refer this to the book of Genesis, ngeSodoma leGomorrah. But if I talk about myself, I'm happily married, and I'm not a rapper. I did not rape my wife. I'm happy, and it's love, and I believe God believes in love. So, umuzwa ophakathi kwami yindlela embunjwe ngayo, and I cannot pretend. But nxa I'm pretender, that is sin before God. That is sin before God. I cannot pretend any longer. I've been pretending for the past 30 years.
Openly living with HIV, she narrates her story.
This is very touchy and very painful because, to tell you the truth, due to my sexuality, I think the husband whom I've been married to is the second person I've ever met in my life. I'm 48 years today. So, and I could see the way aphila ngayo a cheater, and I could take those messages, everything, and tell my in-laws, but they could not actually help me. until such a time that I got ill. I was the first one to become ill because of I was pregnant and I didn't know that I was HIV positive. So when I went to the hospital, they tested me and I became positive, including my children as well. And I went through trauma because he started to blackmail me amongst the family that I'm the one who brought the disease at home, things of that nature. So life became very, very difficult until we separated. Actually, we divorced after 12 years, having been bruised. It was a violence that was very difficult. I broke 2 ribs.
Already a pastor and a married woman when she contracted the virus. However, that wasn't the only issue that ate at her soul.
I remember thrice I attended I was a guest speaker in the pastor's conference. I would go there with blue eyes, things of that nature, and it was very difficult. And he was not saved by then, but he got saved just a few months before we separated. So it was very difficult. It was very difficult. And in church, because I was not open enough about who I am, I think people could see from a distance, to know there's something about this person, because you could tell how people would talk around you and how they actually nail that gender, sexuality around you for no reason, because it's not something that people can just talk if it's not a topic of the day, you understand? So
How did that affect you nje, as umuntu nje?
being a lesbian and a pastor and also going through marital violence, it was, I think I still need healing, because you can tell when, because now I'm married as well. But I find sometimes I'm becoming harsh to my partner, yet she's so soft, she's so calm. There's something inside of me that I think I need counseling.
Now happy with her partner, however, her life remains a thorn in her side.
I've got support from my daughters, except my son. My son, he is aunt, and the past weeks and months I've been going through hell because of my son and my sister, my family sister. They are saying, how can I call myself a Christian, yet I'm a lesbian, and I'm the one who is bringing chaos in the family. It's so painful. It's very hard. It's very hard. And they even called the meeting and opened a group. We spoke about that online. Everybody was actually insulting me and saying they are actually in our family. We are not. We are hard workers for us to survive. So they are saying it's the case that they brought in the family. So it's very difficult.
So they stay with you?
No, they are not staying with me, but my son stays with me to a point that she started to fight with me in front of my wife, and she started to be bully in the house. And you can imagine the house is for my wife, and these are my children. We're staying together, but she come and fight me, and she's very rude to her. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. But I can't pretend. That's who I am, and this is why I treasure people around who understand me, and I cannot live for other people. But I'm going through that now.
Welcome back to the show. We are still following the work of Cinerella, an interfaith organization for religious leaders who are living openly with HIV and AIDS. We continue with the story of one of the pastors who is openly living with the virus. She comes to this garden to share her pain.
Pastandrovu is an abuse survivor and openly lesbian, but his son is struggling to adjust to the new changes, and this weighs heavily on her.
When I go through this moment of rejection, moment of being actually blackmailed, insulted, called by names, really, yeah, I do contemplate and think maybe I made something wrong. I took a wrong decision to be myself this way. I do come to that point because there is nothing so painful than going through or finding enmity between you and your children. Yet other children from the other side of the family, they accept you, and the people that you are not related to, they accept you. They support you, church members, they support you, but your own children, they could call you by names, and they would blame even you that we are suffering like this because of you. Yeah, the one bringing this, really, you come to a point of, yeah, if I think if I was not a Christian, I see the reason why people, they commit suicide. And I thank God to say I'm still alive because I keep on trusting God, but sometimes it's heavy. It's very heavy. I don't want to lie. It's heavy.
Ma, how are you there for her during this time?
It is a very difficult moment, but once we speak over the phone, trying to also make some arrangement for me to be physically there, to come and have a conversation. But the journey we have had, she's in my heart into making sure that, no one have to go through these things by themselves, and yeah, that is me being present. I believe in the ministry of being present, whether I don't do much, but being present. Hence, we speak every day. We WhatsApp, we text, we talk, we share, visions and whatever that she wants to talk about. So that is my next step towards this that is going on right now, to make sure that it doesn't become that she finds herself by herself alone. It is hard. These things are very hard, within family structures. When you get to be rejected or get to be called names, and I'm blessed to not have to go through what she's going through, and many other, because I have a son who at the early age he understood, and it was okay for him. He will always say, you're my mother. I don't know, any other person except you. You're my mother. You were my mother and my father, because his father passed away when he was very young. So I took that role. But at the same time, this is what we see, especially, not a case only, but in many homes, in South African homes.
This is not the only support she receives. With Santarella and Medladla's work comes this garden, a safe space for the women here. Pastor Mutane is the founder.
I come across abomama abaningi kakhulu, married and unmarried, widowed and divorced. When we are here, thina esisahlala namadoda wethu, we fight. Thina siyazilwela shem. We fight. Silwe endlini uthola ukuthi akuhlangani. Kwaba worse ke uma uyazi masiphila on a normal space, normally like kuvuliwe, everybody is free and everything. Ku right gabi. You know why? Because I will pretend ukuthi right now, because I will only spend 15 minutes now endlini. So from lapho ngena endlini 15 minutes ngithatha into engithathayo ngiyadla ngiyaphuma ngekamereni lami. So I'm done with you. We are tolerant because we spend most of the time away from each other. Then we were locked. When we were locked, kuyabonakala akusekho hiding corners zethu, ama pretendants wethu bese sibhizi ngawo. Everything yahlala nje yaba. We are healing when we are here. We are healing. Kahle kahle ukuthi sibe realize the medicine that is hidden in this garden. It is that you are having people that are caring, people that are listening to you. People as party nix, as aritwarelani nix, aritlelani nix. We don't bring food when we come here. Ukuthi mhlambe ungazuthi kukhona ubani sikhumbule ukudla kwakwabani or in nothing. Mara, I'm telling you, we have been
always approaching life ngendlela ebengasizi. But the better way is the way yokuthi siyakhuluma waribua about almost everything. Almost everything. Ungazocabanga ungathi sesingabafazi abangena secret. Uyabona ifamily ine secret. Ekare rona arisana dikhwama tsa hore what is it that I reserve as a secret family yami? What is it that I take out to the community? Because why? As we move on, siyasa realize ukuthi yabana le yama secret wama families and whatever nokuthi sifihla okunye uzokufihla ucabanga ukuthi ihlazo le family kanti kahle kahle ipoison ye family.
Having been coming to meet different people, these people with me as my friends and my colleagues, there is a lot of therapy, emotional in my mind, in myself. I share with them and I feel better, and they pray with me. They tell me what to do, and that my mind to be occupied by something positive that you get as an advice from a friend really is what I needed, and this is what helps me in this point in time.
Pastor Dladla goes door to door, changing the narrative about HIV and AIDS, gender-based violence, and the LGBTQI community, and says seeing her work yield positive results does bring her joy.
I think I feel very grateful, and then it always go back to I touched on how when the gun was pointed in my head, when those guys who gang raped me wanted to kill me. When now change I see, I always say I am grateful that day didn't happen, that I get killed. But I am grateful for the fact that now it makes sense why I had to go through that, for me to become a better person. And also, when lives are changing, I become like a child. When we are together going this way, you are bringing something that I'm learning, whether even if it's a mentoring or I am journeying with you, but it becomes something it's wonderful to see the change.
Today's story has shown us that no matter who you are or what institution you belong to, if you own your truth and stand for what you believe in, your path will clear and the future will be a whole lot more brighter. From myself, Pule Mulabati, and the rest of Stories Untold, it's a goodbye.